and TikTok.
Okay.
Now you're live everywhere. Baby.
Live everywhere. All right. What's up, y'all? John Melton coming to you live. Fired up, jacked up, and excited. Just got back yesterday from Mexico, and we did not have a typical Money Monday, although I did go live last night at like 10:30 because it was late night Cyber Monday. Our team was closing out on $8 million in sales for the month, biggest month of our career. So it's been a crazy past 24 hours. Really, it's just been a crazy month. The whole month was historic, epic, super duper fantastic. But I'm excited because I got my friend Tim here. And Tim, who I'm going to introduce you all to, Tim is somebody that I connected with actually in network marketing. And we just kind of, stayed in touch over the years. We didn't work together. We had the same upline lineage, but totally different markets, and just kind of, maybe had a couple conversations in that company, and that was it. But because of social media and staying in touch with one another, I saw Tim absolutely killing it in the real estate game, doing masterminds and coaching, and most importantly, making a lot of his investors money, making himself a lot of money, doing all types of real estate investments, but mostly apartment buildings. And for some of you, this conversation might not be relevant right this second, but we'll also get into some mindset stuff, and we'll get into, different conversations here that I think will help you no matter where you're at in your life and in your business. But Tim is somebody we invest a lot of our personal money with. And it's because he's got a system in place, right? We always talk about having a system in network marketing. Tim has a system for his investors. He's got a massive portfolio. Tim, how many properties or units are you up to now in your portfolio?
A little over 4,200.
4,200, which does how much in sales? How much?
4,256 doors is what I own. Around $340 million of property.
Crazy. And obviously, just like anybody else, you had to start out with, learning how to freaking invest money and, how to make.
You knew me when I was broke, dude.
Right.
You knew me. I had no money.
Right. Just like anybody else, right? Starting out like fingers crossed. I hope this is a good idea. And to see what you've created over the last several years, it's just magnificent. And I love watching you also leverage social media, right? Doing the live videos, doing the epic posts that go viral, really putting out a lot of free content. And then on the back end, finding ways to capture leads and monetize. And I think it's genius. I mean, it's awesome because there's a lot of, real estate gurus, experts, if you will, that are old school. They've been in the industry, been in real estate for decades. I'm sure you work with some of those guys, and they probably don't even have social media. And then there's guys like you that, you're younger and you see the value in being in the real estate space, and you know how to speak the language. You've studied your ass off. You've invested in yourself. You've taken it very serious. You're a student of the real estate industry, but you're also a student of personal development, and you're mastering the marketing on social media and just the internet period side of things. So I'm really excited for us just to have this conversation, because I know we're going to have people on here that are maybe interested in supplementing their income or getting into real estate and wanting to know where to start. And then I think also there's people on here that maybe do have some money to invest, and maybe you could give them some guidance and direction. So just excited to have you on, and maybe you could start off, because obviously most of my audience probably doesn't know who you are. And we're actually live, just so you know, on 3 different places on Facebook, I believe. We're live on TikTok. Hello, TikTok. We're live on YouTube. And we're going to have this as a podcast. So we're all about optimization. You know what I'm saying? And we're live on Twitter, actually. So there you go. But Tim, excited to have you on. If you could first introduce yourself to everybody. I know I gave you a little bit of an introduction, but would love for you just to share your background and your story with everyone before we get into it.
Yeah, man. Well, dude, again, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
You and Nadya have been friends for a long time, and I've always looked up to you guys and what you guys have done in the personal development space and in the business building. And it's amazing to see both of us grow. It's cool to see us in our infancy stages and struggle, and then overcome a lot of the adversities that we've had to go through over the years. And you have a long-term vision. You keep your sights set on that, and you can overcome all the short-term obstacles and stuff that you face. So it's been awesome watching you guys, and I appreciate all the value that you guys put out there too. And it's obviously working really, really well, because you got some big things going on. So excited to be here. And quick high level on me. I'm 35 years old. I got into real estate when I was going through college. So 03 to 07, everybody's making money in real estate. And it didn't matter if you have a pulse, dude, everybody's making money, right?
Right.
And so I was a money motivated kid when I'm 20 years old. So get involved in real estate, started a painting company. I started working for one of the biggest home builders. When I graduated college in 2007, I moved out to New York City and I got my real estate license. I thought that's how everybody gets involved in real estate. So I got my real estate license and I parked it with a brokerage that brokered leases for retail and office buildings. And they did some investment sales and stuff too. And
is that typical though? Because that's
more
complicated.
No, I don't know how I fell into that. I can't even remember, but for some reason I didn't put it with like a residential brokerage selling people houses. Instead, I guess I was interested in the investment side of things, but I didn't really dude, I think everybody gets involved in real estate because they want that residual and that passive income, but then they get stuck in the transactional stuff thinking that they need to go stockpile a lot of their own cash, which some people do. But you don't need to do that. So like I got involved as a broker, and as I was working with these landlords and as I was working with these tenants, and I brokered this little 400 square foot space in Manhattan. It was at the corner of Bleecker and Thompson, for anybody who's familiar with Manhattan, and 400 square feet. We signed a lease with a falafel shop for $10,000 a month with a 4% annual increase on a 12-year term. So over 12 years, this falafel shop was going to be paying this landlord. I don't know, you start doing the math, it's like almost $2 million for doing something once. And I'm like, dude,
I need to get in that.
He's got 8 retail spaces and 10 stories of apartments above it. I'm like, I'm on the wrong side of the coin. I need to be owning real estate, not brokering real estate. So that's what took me down to Charleston, South Carolina, which, I'm like, hey, I want to own some real estate. So here's the good news. I'm 23 years old. I'm ready to light the world on fire. And real estate is all good. In 2008, I go through that analysis paralysis phase of trying to attend all the seminars and buy all the programs and go through all that stuff for 6 months. And in that 6-month period, October of 2008 occurs. And you know what happened with the mortgage world. You know what happened with real estate. You know what happened with everything came crumbling down. So I'm a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kid walking into a party being like, let's go. And all of a sudden, everybody's screaming, running out the back door, saying run from real estate. And,
get out.
Yeah.
Run
and
for
so
your life. Yeah.
it was a funny situation.
I was a mortgage banker, and that's why I got out. I got out in 2008. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, not the ideal time.
So I'm like, it was kind of interesting timing because that's when I got in at the bottom of the market. And I know that I would have done something stupid early on, right? Because I didn't know any better. I would have taken out no doc loans. I would have had stated income. I would have been like, yeah, I make millions of dollars a year and give me millions and millions of dollars of loans and go and buy speculative real estate and do stupid things with it because I didn't know any better. And
meaning buy something hoping one day it appreciates.
Exactly.
Right.
Because here's what I noticed. In 2008, 2009, I remember being in real estate, right? Unfortunately, I was not fazed by the downturn because I didn't own anything or wasn't involved in real estate to that depth at that point. But I remember seeing people who were worth millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. And some people went totally bankrupt when that happened. And other people who were worth tens of millions or at least millions of dollars not only survived, but were able to thrive in that market cycle. And I'm like, dude, what is the difference? Because the same market, Jim Rohn, right? The same wind blows on us all. The difference is the set of the sail. And I was like, what is the difference? Because the same market is happening to everybody and the same economy is happening to everybody. Why are some people crashing and burning and other people able to, thrive in this marketplace? And it came down to a few
Charleston.
Things. Yeah, it was down in Charleston, but it was happening all over, right?
Right.
And it came down to a few things which are kind of pillars of my business today. One of those things was like everybody was investing in speculative real estate. They were buying it. Well, here, let me back up. They're buying at a retail price. That's a first no-no. You don't pay retail price, right? You want to buy at a wholesale price. Number two is they were hoping for appreciation, just banking that it would appreciate and be worth more tomorrow than it was today. And when that didn't happen, they got wiped out. Or they didn't have exit strategies. Or they didn't have cash flow. That's another big one. I buy for cash flow today. I don't buy the sexiest stuff. I buy B-class workforce housing apartments that just cash flow. And if worst case scenario, the market crumbles, but you have cash flow that comes in, you can still cover all your expenses, cover all your mortgage payments, and put some cash in your pocket, and then ride out the storm. So the other thing is I force appreciation. I put sweat equity into my properties instead of speculating on it. So I do a lot of that kind of stuff today because of what I saw back in 2008, 2009. So
it's recession proof. Like, people are always going to have to live somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And I think that, that B-class housing, when the market's good, everybody can afford it. When the market shifts and turns, all those luxury and A-class renters move into more of just kind of a workforce type housing. They're not spending $3,500 a month on rent. Instead, they're going to go spend $1,500 or $1,800 a month on rent. So I'm in that pocket of around $800 to $1,400 a month in rent. Nice stuff, granite countertops. It looks nice and attractive. Attracts good renters, attracts good rental rates because of it, and then tenants don't leave. And so because of all that, we have it's a good, steady, very insulated asset class that we're in.
Right. And what are the markets that you mostly focus on?
Mostly the Southeast, just because I know a bunch of people there. But I have property in 11 or 12 different states. So I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Cleveland originally. But
it always seems like those are the better markets, like, versus getting into the Northeast or California, especially if it's like New York City, DC. It just seems like those markets can be a lot more challenging, especially with what you look for, the parameters.
Well, it's twofold in those markets. First of all, it's very tenant friendly in those markets. It makes it very difficult to be a landlord.
Yeah,
so in the Southeast, if a tenant doesn't pay their rent, that's cut and dry. Like, if you don't pay rent, guess what? I can't pay my bills if you don't pay your bills. Right. And so within 30 days, you can go through the process and say, hey, you got to move out to a new place so that way I can rent to somebody who does pay their bills. In New York City, that process can take 9 months or longer pre-COVID. And now it can take 2 years in order to evict a tenant who's not paying their bills. So that's the first challenge with investing in, really the Californias, the Seattles, the New Yorks, the Northeast, some of those marketplaces.
But also the price points are so high. I would think
that's number two.
Yeah.
Number two is it doesn't cash flow. It doesn't, you can't justify it. Those are more speculative appreciation type markets. Yeah. So if you want to play that game, that's okay. It's just, I don't like playing that game. I'm not risk averse enough to go and do that. I'd rather buy for long-term stable cash flow because I'm not looking to get rich quick. I'm looking to get wealthy slow.
Right. And when did you, I love that. That's a great quote. When did you have that first breakthrough? Like, was there like that first apartment building or that first deal where it was like, all right, now I'm getting it. Like, now I feel like this is my first real breakthrough side of things.
Well, it's hard to see 4,000 units ahead of time, right? So let's go back to deal number one. The first deal that I ever did was a dumpy little duplex in North Charleston, South Carolina. I bought this thing in April of 2009, after the market crashed. It was the cheapest house on the entire MLS. And that's cool. It's cheap, right?
Yeah.
The only problem was I was 23 and I didn't have any money. So the only person lending me money at that time was this guy called MasterCard. And he had a $3,000 limit, but I heard that you can increase your limit, but if you call up your credit card company. So I call him up and I'm like, listen, I think I went like this, like Austin Powers. I was like, I need to increase my limit to $100,000. Right. And they go, hey, you've been an amazing customer since you opened this card after you graduated from high school 15 months ago, but we're not going to give you a $100,000 credit line increase. Here's what we can do. We'll give you $15,000. So they gave me $15,000 credit line. This house was marketed. It was listed on the MLS for $25,000. Go back and forth. I got it for $14,000.
Oh wow!
And then, yeah, dude. And then me with carpet on top of my car and paying my buddies in beer and pizza. Literally painted, changed out the carpet, changed out the fixtures, put lipstick on a pig. It was still a pig, just had lipstick on it. And dude, in less than 4 months, I turned this thing around. In 110 days, I turned around, sold it, and made $14,000 profit. It was the biggest check I ever made. And I was 20. Well, I just turned 24 at that time. And I was like, dude, everybody's running from real estate. I just made the most amount of money that I've ever made in my life. And I'm like, let me go do it again. So that proof of concept, I guess, was instilled in me from that first deal. And then I did a few other deals, a few more deals. And dude, at 25, within the next, I don't know, 12, 18 months, I collected 10 units, 10 houses. And I bought all single family houses, all C-class, C- kind of areas, a little bit rougher type areas. But out of those 10 units, dude, I wasn't rich, but it created enough residual income that it paid for all the operating expenses for the properties, all the debt service and mortgages, and plus all my own personal expenses, and left me with about a $500 to $1,000 a month in just free cash flow. So I wasn't rich, but I was financially free because my cash flow exceeded what my monthly expenses were. And I was like, dude, I got this figured out, right? So now I got my chest puffed out, and I got this. I figured out how to become financially free at the age of 25. And then you start, chasing dangly, shining objects.
For some reason, it just started breaking up.
Yep. Can you hear me?
You think I need to put my headphones in?
Yeah.
That's so weird. Just out of nowhere. Let me see. 1 second, bud. Yeah,
Can you hear me okay?
You think that's going to do with my headphones?
No, but it's going to help.
Let's see. Yeah, that's so random. It was like perfectly clear, and it just started getting real staticky.
I got all the bars on my internet, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Yes.
Check. Can you hear me?
Nah, it's like
Still staticky?
It's like super. Actually, wait. Try taking out your headphones for a second. Let's just see. Now he's muted.
Oh, he needs to connect to the mic.
Connect to the mic real quick, Tim, if you could. Yeah, they're saying they can hear you. It's that I can't hear you. So if I can't hear you, that's going to be an awkward conversation. Oh, man. Babe, how can we connect him to the mic? Because it says muted on his screen.
I know. Okay, so why don't you put the headphones? Let's try that. Everybody puts headphones in.
All right, try putting your headphones back in and see what happens. Sorry, man. StreamYard's a little funky.
Wow, so everybody can hear.
Yeah, they can hear him, but we've had this happen before. It's not the first time. All right. Yeah, it's still breaking up.
Check.
It's like I can't hear a word he's saying. I can tell he's talking, but it's like, but they can all hear him. So what do I do?
You're gonna have to do the thing where you're listening to him on your other phone, and there's gonna be
It's like super delayed.
I know, but that's the only choice.
Sorry, brother. We've dealt with this before.
Over here to this computer.
Why don't you turn the volume on that computer? Or actually, no, I can just talk to him there. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna switch screens real quick.
Okay.
Be right back.
No, let Tim. Hey, can you be talking about your story?
Yeah, keep talking about your story.
Let's do it. Yeah, so I where was I? So I bought the property, sold the property, made a few bucks, kept on doing it, started chasing some shiny objects, and actually ended up looking at a bunch of different businesses, one of which was a network marketing company, one that John and I, the one that John was in at that time. And so it aligned very much with real estate. So I was like, oh, this makes sense. It's a bunch of home services, TV, internet, phone, electricity, natural gas. The issue with that company, though, which I didn't know at the onset, was that all the money was made from recruiting. None of it was made from the products itself. Like, there's not enough margin in a cell phone to really make a true residual on it. But network marketing gave me so much from a personal. There it is, looking good, buddy. Can you hear me better now? Okay. Yeah. So network marketing gave me a ton from a personal development standpoint. Like, I could not speak on a camera. I could not speak in front of people. I could not, I didn't have the mental strength, in order to understand how to build up a business. Network marketing gave me all that kind of stuff. And I got to meet some amazing people like John and Nadya and several other people that I still do business with today. And I've been doing business with for 10 years.
And then also, Tim, is that how you kind of started getting into like personal development, working on yourself, or were you kind of okay? So that was where you were introduced, which is so cool, right? Getting into network marketing opens your mind to, working on yourself, your skill set, your mindset, getting into all these amazing, incredible people out there that are teaching business practices and entrepreneurship. So that's super cool.
Yeah, I had read like Rich Dad Poor Dad and a couple of books beforehand, but I didn't even realize that it was like an industry, that it was an actual thing, and there were a bunch of people that were teaching, and mostly the mindset stuff. Like a lot of people are like, oh, it's a bunch of like fugazi, I don't even know, whatever they call it, and it's like, dude, 90% of everything is mindset. 90%, like you need to work harder on yourself than you do on your job, just like Jim Rohn says. Like if you are tough enough in that capacity, it doesn't matter if you don't have, like, I remember people still come to me because I coach and teach on real estate now, but people come to me like, dude, I don't have the time to invest in real estate. I don't have the money. I don't have the connections. I don't have the knowledge, the skill, the know-how. I don't have the resources. And I remember Tony Robbins saying once, he's like, dude, if you are resourceful, you will find the resources, right? So resourcefulness is the ultimate resource. And that just resonated with me. It's like, dude, 100% responsibility right here. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. I got to be able to figure this thing out. And so any hurdle, like, dude, I've dealt with the worst of the worst in all of real estate. I've been chased out of houses with baseball bats. I've walked into houses with roaches falling on my head from the door jamb, and walked out with fleas all over my pants. Dude, took my jeans off, left them in the driveway, drove home in my underwear. Dude, I've dealt with all of it. I've had tenants rip me off.
But did you buy those places?
Some of them I did.
Like, everywhere. This is gonna be a good deal.
Dude, hey, that's a distressed seller, right? They're a motivated seller. They got to get rid of this stuff. Nobody wants to deal with that. Problems mean opportunity for me, right? So
that's it, man. That's it. Well, it's just funny how many people like myself got out of real estate when you were getting in, and look at what you've created. I mean, it's so crazy when you think about the obstacle. Do you look at the opportunity and the obstacle, or the obstacle and the opportunity, right? And it's just a matter of perspective. So it's like, hey, there's fleas, there's cockroaches. I'm gonna be able to get a good deal on this spot. So when did you buy your first like the multifamilies, the apartment buildings? It's funny. I tell Nadya, every time I'm driving down the highway and I see a new apartment building going up, I'm like, I should have got in on that deal. Like, man, there's somebody out there like Tim that's just, it's exciting, man.
Yeah, the thing is, some of that stuff is like super inflated. You got to be really careful about a lot of it right now. There's a lot of different like moving parts and variables that come into play on a lot of the deals. And just because it looks nice doesn't mean it's a moneymaker. Like I have vacation rentals down in Florida that are the most beautiful properties that I own that lose money every single month because of the type of asset class that they are and type of renter. And, there's just different obstacles that come with some of those different things. So, so I get in network marketing, and, I'm working really, really hard. I was, a team coordinator. I was actually RVP 3. I was like just a couple of points away from RVP 3, but I had like 800 people on my team and 3,500 customers and all that. You know what all that is, right?
Yeah, doing meetings every night. Yeah,
every night, all day. Just like burning relationships. With people. Oh, if you don't want to join, the F you kind of a thing.
You better buy an air card by tomorrow at midnight. I'm done.
Exactly. You're totally written off. And that just didn't resonate with me. And it came to a point where like I'm burning the candle at both ends in this thing, and I'm not even making any money, right? And how can I like go into a living room and tell somebody, hey, invest $500 because you can get rich? And it wasn't the right company, right? Like there's no margin in cell phones. There's no margin in electricity and natural gas. It sounds good. It makes a lot of sense, but there's just no margin there. You need to be in a higher margin type product. So anyways, I was so into that I sold those 10 properties, or I sold 9 of them that I had that made me financially free. And then, dude, I burned through everything except for my own primary residence. And over the course of the next 2.5 years, I was completely broke. I had, $25,000 of credit card debt, and I had $80 in my bank account.
And when was this?
What's that?
When was this?
This was August of 2012. Remember sitting there on my bed crying because I had to borrow money to make the minimum payment on my credit card. I had to borrow money to make my mortgage payment. I was selling my side tables and my furniture on Craigslist to try to get $15, $30, $100, paying for gas with the coins out of the cup holder of my car. And I'm just like, what the hell was I doing? And so I was like, real estate, I had it figured out in real estate. Why don't I just jump back into real estate? And real estate was what saved my ass, because the only thing that I still owned was my house, and I had some equity built up in it. So I sold my house. I made about $50,000 from the sale. It was able to pay down my credit card, moved back to Cleveland, Ohio, at the age of 27, moved back in with my parents until about a year later, then got a house, got married to my wife, Kate, and just kind of got real estate going up again back in Ohio. And this is now to end of 2012, beginning of 2013, where really prices, this is like the bottom of the barrel pricing now. Like I bought my first apartment building at Christmas of 2012. So it was 8 years ago this month. 8 years ago this month, I bought my first apartment building. It was an 8-unit apartment building that I bought for $30,000, but it was in a bad area, right? And it needed a bunch of work. So I got in there, fixed it all up, put a bunch of tenants in place. But I was all into it for like $80,000, and it generated a net income of about $27,000 a year. And so I'm like, dude, this is a 33% return on investment.
Right.
And
better than being a team coordinator.
Way better.
I had to.
About twice as good, actually. Yeah. And what was most profound about it is I was flipping some houses at the same time, and I was doing some single family rentals. And what I realized was like, it was just so much more scalable, right? Like I could go and buy one 8-unit apartment instead of 8 single family houses, and drive to one location instead of 8. I can negotiate with one seller instead of 8 sellers. I get financing from one lender instead of 8 lenders, right? And so it was just easier.
I like that perspective. Just 8 separate properties you got to drive to and have conversations and deal with repairs, and versus one property with 8 units.
Yeah. And it was just like, I have all the construction and material and supplies delivered to one location. It's all on site. I go collect rent from one location instead of 8 locations. So it was just, everything was more scalable. The renovations, the property management, the project management, the acquisitions, the sales, everything. So that was a profound moment for me of like looking back at the end of 2013 of what I did. And dude, I met people through network marketing who invested in that business with me.
Right.
And so, working with some people, they ended up rolling some money forward. So I was able to go out and collect some property and raise private money essentially. And it allowed me to go and flip single family houses, do like the HGTV stuff that you see, buy single family rentals, and then buy a couple of apartment buildings. And looking back after that first year, I realized apartment buildings met my goals, met my ambitions for the long term. Right? Like not everybody needs to invest in apartments. That's not what I'm all about. Just like figure out what your goals are. I think a lot of people just go through life of like, oh yeah, I'd like to invest in real estate. But like, what does that mean? Or like, I'd like to start a new business, or I'd like to join network marketing, or I'd like to like create. Here's an example. Remember MapQuest back in the day? Like MapQuest, or here, let me back up. I'm gonna give you a different example. My daughter's 5 years old. She's big into Disney movies, and we were watching Alice in Wonderland. And in Alice in Wonderland, you guys know the story. Like she chases the rabbit, goes down the hole, goes through all these adventures in Wonderland. And I remember watching that with her, and she gets to this fork in the road, and she sees that Cheshire cat, that purple cat that appears up with a big smiley grin. And she's like, hey, Mr. Cat, like, which direction should I go? And the cat's like, well, where do you want to go? And she's like, well, I'm not really quite sure. He's like, well, I guess it doesn't matter, right? You can take whatever path you want, because you don't know where the hell you're going, right? And I was like, dude, how many people go through life like that? Right. Like in MapQuest, you had to actually put a destination in and know what your final destination was before it could reverse engineer the map in order to get you to that destination. Right. And so for me and my long-term goals, I knew that real estate or apartment buildings was going to get me to that financial goal of mine. Right. And would get me there faster than single family or flips or anything else. And so that's what I focused on. I think if for anybody who's watching, if you want to get involved in real estate or you want to get involved in any business, just make sure that it puts you on a straight line. The fastest way to get from point A to point B is a straight line. So make sure you're on a straight line, and if whatever you're going to do or you're thinking about doing does not put you on that straight line, then don't do it, right? And just make sure that you stay on the path to get to your long-term destination. And so that was a big deal. And so I started doing apartment buildings full time in 2013, 2014, and ended up actually breaking up with those business partners around 2015, 2016. Had to liquidate about 140 units that we built up, but it was really like a breath of fresh air. It's like the whole, I think it's a setback. It's really a setup type of a thing. And started building my current portfolio at the end of 2015. And over the past 5 years, I've built up to 4,200 doors. I was still doing some single family stuff and some other things. And in 2017, I just sat back, I looked at what was my net worth and where was I spending my time. And it was like 90% of my net worth came from my apartments and only 10% of my time. So that just like concreted the idea that I needed to be spending all my time in real estate. So I stopped at that time, just burned the ships on everything that wasn't apartment buildings and just focused on apartment buildings from then on out.
That's killer, man. And it's good to see what you've created. And also on top of that, you're helping investors, you're helping individuals that are wanting to become investors, how to do the exact same thing. And maybe you could talk about some of that. Like, when did you decide, hey, I'm going to start building my own personal brand? I'm going to start taking on investors. I'm going to kind of, scale this thing from just me investing, me being, the only one out there doing this to, getting into teaching others and then even taking on investors.
Yeah, man. Great question. I kind of did it on accident. I just, dude, I have what I like to think is an abundance mentality. Like, I think that wealth is like sunshine. I don't think there's any limitation to how much there is. And me getting sunshine or you getting sunshine, John, doesn't take any sunshine away from me. So like, if I can help people build wealth, chances are we can probably build more wealth together. So dude, I just started putting it on social media. I'd start walking around with my phone around an apartment building or a house that I was renovating and talking through it. I'd get my CPA that I was meeting with and be like, dude, let's do a Facebook Live real quick. Or my attorney, and let's talk about how to lend private money. And I just kind of did it to add value, I guess. And I didn't realize the compound effect that would create of how much value would then circle back and created for me. Because every time then I started posting, people would be like, dude, do you coach on this stuff?
Right.
Do you mentor? Can I buy deals from you? Can I sell deals to you? Can I invest money with you? And all of a sudden it created this like machine of deal flow, of lenders, and of coaching students. And I didn't even have a coaching business back then. And then all of a sudden, that's when I started coming up with like masterminds and stuff. And it turned
That's how it always starts, right? People are like, hey, did you do coaching? You're like, maybe I should.
Maybe. Well, yeah. So and dude, it's profound because the coaching business, a lot of people are like, dude, why are you make so much money doing this? Why are you giving everybody your secrets? Right? I'm like, dude, because most of my deals come from my students. Like they might be able to go and source deals and might be able to go and operate those deals, but they don't have access to a big balance sheet like I can in order to qualify for loans, or they don't have access to the money and the cash that I do in order to, put the down payments down. And so they end up bringing me deals. They get into deals that they couldn't have gotten into. I'm able to get into a deal that's fairly passive for me that I couldn't have gotten into previously. And all of a sudden, we're both building wealth, right? 1 + 1 = 3 because we can do more together in that capacity. And, my philosophy has always been like, I don't want to own 100% of a grape. If you own 100% of a grape, you got to do all the work, right? I'd rather have a quarter of a watermelon. There's a lot more juice in the squeeze of a quarter of a watermelon than there is in 100% of a grape. So, and I can then I can just focus on the stuff that I like to do, right? And because I like doing it, I get better at it. Because I'm better at it, I like doing it more, and it gives me the lifestyle that I don't have to go and do the accounting and the bookkeeping and the standard operating procedures and all the other BS that my COO loves to do. Like my COO would not want to be on a Facebook Live right now, right? He doesn't want to. So there's a dichotomy there where I can do the stuff I like to do, and then I can share a piece of the watermelon with somebody who likes to do the stuff that I don't like to do. And it gives me the lifestyle to go and live on the beach and travel and hang out and have fun and, pursue other endeavors. So it's been pretty impactful. It's pretty cool.
How often are you closing on deals, would you say?
Oh, dude. So like
taking like purchasing new deals versus selling an existing deal. Like how often, what does that look like? Yeah.
What's funny is like, I used to flip houses and I worked way harder flipping houses because I used to flip like 100 houses a year. And, dude, that's like 8 houses a month. Right. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, it was brain damage though. So now I buy about 1 to 2 apartment buildings per month and I do way less work. So I only do maybe 20 deals a year, let's say. But they're just bigger deals, instead of doing $200,000 house, I'm doing a $8 million apartment building. And so because it's just a bigger deal, I can generate a lot more wealth. I can help other people make a lot more money. And it's a good cohesive business strategy. And I don't do any of the brokering. I don't do any of that stuff anymore for other people. I'm just building my own portfolio and partnering up with people like you and Nadya, who come in and you guys lend money, get a fixed return, and then you get a piece of the equity in the deal forever, you know?
Maybe you could talk about that. Like, that's how we started, investing with you. It was like, look, you're putting out quality content. I trusted you. I knew you from, prior to just like a random Facebook friend. Like, we were in the same business, and there's always like, there's always that, like,
we're in the trenches together, bro. Like, hey, we're war buddies.
Ability and history, and it's like you have something to talk about, laugh about, reminisce about. Like, oh my gosh, can you believe what we did before? But I also knew that you had worked with others that they had a lot of money, and these are people that could have put their money anywhere, and they put it with you also. So I knew it wasn't just like, a random person that's killing it, right? We can all just get on Google and find, real estate investment companies to link arms with and invest in. But it's like, I knew you way before all of the stuff you were doing and, blowing up on Facebook and blowing up with all your investments. So I kind of had an idea. And I think, at the same time too, we started blowing up and making a lot of money, more money than we had ever made, right around the same time you started blowing up, making more money than you'd ever made. So it was kind of like we were on that same path together. But maybe you could talk about how you figured out this system for helping investors so that you can buy bigger, better properties, like what that looks like, and then what it is you do with that, just so anyone watching that's interested or wanting to do something like that down the road can understand it.
Yeah. I think so as a private lender, so let me back up for a second and let you know that I see a lot of people who make a lot of money in other businesses, entrepreneurs who have their own primary business that make a bunch of cash. They sell a product, or they launch a product, or they sell their business and they bring in millions or tens of millions of dollars. And then they think they can just jump into real estate. I got a friend.
Yeah.
Dude, he sold his tech company for $750 million to Blackstone. Okay.
Dude.
Like, he pocketed about $250 million himself. He gets involved in real estate, invests with me, comes out to my event. He's like, Tim, you make it look so easy, right? And so he's like, I don't need to invest with Tim. I can go and, roll my money forward elsewhere, just do my own deals. Dude, he goes and rolls $20 million of cash in to a project on his own, has a partner on the ground or something that he didn't vet. He didn't have a third-party management company. He didn't have third-party, like, anything. And the dude gets his ass handed to him, right? His legs get taken out. The partner steals $2 million of his $20 million. He's stuck with a whole bunch of properties that are not performing. The guy leaves the country. And then my buddy's stuck with a bunch of properties that he's into for $20 million that are worth about $12 million right now. And he's got to go figure it out. He's got to roll more money forward and do it in order to clean up the whole mess. And it was just—
that's the other thing. It's not just the money, it's the time.
It's a time, dude. And then there's
stress.
Yeah.
Decisions he's having to make, and he knows, dude, that's—
and dude, he's got a private equity firm and everything now. And he's like, dude, he's got to go and worry about this. So, and it's not, and he's got to go through the learning curves like anybody would and getting into a new business. It's like you and me sitting in a bar and being like, dude, just because I eat in a bar and I drink in a bar doesn't mean I can run a restaurant, right? It's a different business. Mm-hmm. And I think real estate's one of those things that everybody—
that's the other thing. If he wanted to do that eventually, be on his own, but to start off that way, doing it on his own, it makes—
yeah. I mean, and that's totally— it's just, dude, it's like anything. If you want to be able to perform at the highest level, you need 10,000 hours, right, of experience under your belt in whatever that industry is. I see a lot of people who they jump from, and you see this in network marketing all the time. They jump from company to company, or they jump from industry to industry or business to business because, dude, real statistic, if I'm flying from Charleston, South Carolina to Maryland, then that's about a 2-hour flight. Let's say I fly 2 hours. Real numbers. 50% of the fuel is used up in the first 15 minutes. Just to take off. 50%. The other 50% is using the other 87% of the flight just to keep the airplane up. So I see a lot of people who can't get their business off the ground, or they jump. The grass is greener on the other side, right? Or they jump from industry to industry, or business to business, or job to job, or network marketing company, because it takes a lot of work to get it off the ground. But guess what? As soon as you jump over to the other one, you got to get that plane off the ground too, right? It's no different. So just stick with what you're really good at, get it up off the ground, and then when you're in the coasting phase, then you can go start another business where you can give it that much time and attention, right? So,
and learn from experts, right? It's like you're talking about the bar. the bar restaurant example, the best person to start their own bar or restaurant is someone that worked in the restaurant industry for 5, 10, 15 years and understand what it's like to run a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with you with real estate. You started out selling real estate, being on the brokerage side, and then got into the investing side. And I think it's in anything, it's so crucial that you start small and you're not too embarrassed to suck, right? You gotta embrace
if you're gonna go big,
right?
you got to link arms with somebody who's already there, right?
Exactly.
Like you got to partner up with somebody who's already doing it. And so,
and you saw that, you were like, this is definitely the direction I want to go in. Yeah.
So I knew that, going into big apartment buildings, like I started out organically though. I kind of, raised up through the ranks. I started with an 8 unit, then I bought another 8 unit, then I bought a 15 unit, then I bought a 30 unit. And I just kept on organically growing my portfolio to a few hundred units of small buildings before I ever jumped into the big stuff.
Right.
So going back to your original question though, of like, how do I structure this stuff? I realized early on that it didn't matter how much money I had personally. If I could be sitting on millions of dollars, I would run out with what the level of my ambitions were of how big of a portfolio I wanted to grow. Like I have $50 million of private money in play in my deals right now. Of just mom and pop investors, you and Mrs. Smith and somebody with an IRA or 401k or whatever involved in my deals. Obviously, it doesn't matter how much money I had, I would eventually run out. So one of my mentors early on, they said, invest your money and lend it out to other people and then borrow money for doing your own deals. And I was like, why? He's like, dude, because eventually you run out. This keeps you sharp and it keeps you empathetic to what investors are looking for as well. And what I've realized whenever I was lending my money out was that there was only really 2 types of investments out there as far as like real estate investments from a passive standpoint. One is a debt loan. So this is, John, you're flipping a house and you need to borrow $100,000 and you're willing to pay me an 8% return on my investment if I lend you $100,000 for a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So I lend you $100,000. I make 8%. It's predictable. It pays me on a monthly or quarterly basis. I get my money back and then I go and do it again.
And if you don't get your money back, you get the property.
Right.
There's collateral. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's one. The other one's an equity investment. And in most apartment and commercial real estate syndications, it's straight equity and there's no predictability to the cash flow. Meaning you invest, if the property performs, you make a percentage of whatever the cash flow is. If it does not perform, you don't make any money until the property either sells or refinances or starts cash flowing. Right. So it's good because you have upside in the deal, but there's no predictability. And so I remember thinking like, how come there's nothing out there that's like a hybrid of the two? Like what if somebody wants a little bit of cash flow and they know worst case scenario, I make 8 or 10% return on my investment. But also when I get my money back, like, dude, it goes back to the whole sunshine thing. Like, why do I need to keep all the sunshine? Like if I give you a little bit of equity, now you and Nadya see me as a long-term partner. And when I give you your money back, you still have equity in this deal over here. You get percentage of the cash flows, percentage of refinance proceeds, percentage of future sales proceeds, your percentage of depreciation, and you're an equity owner in that deal forever. So now you're actually building wealth instead of just earning a return on your investment. And I realized that early on that people are looking for both of those things, and there's nothing out there that offers that. So could I offer a hybrid? And the answer was based on the types of deals that I was buying, I could do that. So when somebody lends me money, I pay them usually a 10%, 8 to 10% return on investment fixed. And then it allows me to then go and buy the apartment building with no money out of my own pocket. Now I'm signing on the loan, so I have skin in the game in the millions of dollars range. And it's my team doing all the work. And we don't nickel and dime it with fees or anything like that, like a lot of other people do. I get paid when the investors get their money back. So now, we're in the boat rowing in the same direction kind of a thing. And visions and goals are aligned. So what I do, I'll go and get a loan for, let's say 80% of the deal. So it's called a $10 million building. $8 million will come from the bank. I will personally sign on that loan. The other $2 million will come from my private money lenders. So that could be people like you who stroke a check for $100,000 to $500,000 to $2 million, whatever. It can be broken up with one person straight, paying $2 million or investing $2 million, or 20 people investing $100,000.
Right.
And then that's that's $10 million that I need in order to buy the building and renovate it. So then my team goes in, we renovate the building, we fix up all the amenities, and we make sure that the units are nice and they're new kitchens and bathrooms and fixtures and flooring and paint, and everything looks amazing. It attracts good quality tenants. We put great third-party management in place. And then because we're able to create that appreciation by putting all that sweat equity in, the property value is now $14 million. Okay. Right. So 24 months later, it appraises for $14 million. If the bank's willing to give me a loan at 75%, then that gives me, I'm able to go and refinance at that higher value, and they're willing to give me, let's call it, I don't know, $10.5 million. With that $10.5 million, I'm able to pay off my $8 million bank loan. I'm able to pay you back from a private money lending standpoint. And then there's a little bit of like non-taxable refinance proceeds. So right. It allows us to then hold the property and put long-term debt in place but also take all of our chips off the table, right? All of our investors' money is off the table. You get all that back. You made a good return on your investment while it was invested. And then the investor owns a percentage of equity in the deal. Again, that kicks off cash flow and right. Refi proceeds, sales proceeds, and depreciation for as long as we own the building. And then they get a big pop of whenever the property sells in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road.
How do you decide that, by the way?
How do I what?
How do you decide when to sell it?
That's a market by market type thing. It depends on what's going on with the market, depends on what's going on with the property, depends on what's going on all in all. But usually it's me and my team.
Parameters like, okay, I think I could sell this for X amount of dollars, percentage wise, 30% profit. It's time to sell. Like what do you look at? What are those key parameters?
Yeah. So like there's a couple properties right now that because of the whole COVID thing, we can't refinance and get all of our investor money back out. Right. There's escrows and all sorts of this crazy stuff. And there's just kind of like a cover your ass mentality with a lot of appraisers right now too. Mm-hmm. The other thing is like, we haven't been able to push rents as much as we had hoped.
Right.
Because we just don't want to rock the boat, dude. Like we don't know if we'll be able to evict people. We don't know if people are going to be moving back in. We don't know about supply chain issues with renovating units. And there's a lot of variables. Everybody's dealing with it. Right. Fortunately, with our buying criteria, we bought at a low basis. We created appreciation. We never speculated. The values increased significantly. But I just refinanced a $30 million building. Well, I thought it was going to be $30 million. The appraisal came in at $27 million. So it was a little bit shy, but we're only into this thing for $17 million, right? Mm-hmm. So like we created $10 million, not $13 million of value on that deal. So smoke and deal for everybody who determines
that price? Is it, you're saying it was $27 million based on the appraisal?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, on the appraisal.
So you should find someone to buy it for that.
We have somebody willing to buy. They're about to pay it's $2 million more.
So there you go. So the appraisal might be 27, but if multiple offers, 29 million for, like, that's sick. That's crazy. So it's 12 million.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, what we're ended up doing is like that came in. So in order for us to get a new valuation up to 29 or $30 million, it's going to take us a couple of rental cycles in order to bump up the rents to a certain. So I'm looking, going back to your original question of how do you determine if you're selling or not, is I'm looking now at highest return on equity. So this is like not 101 finance. This is level 202, maybe 401 or 404, whatever it is. It's return on equity. So if I have $10 million or let's say $8 million of equity in a property, what does that return on investment look like between principal pay down and cash flows, right? And what is that? So if it generates, I don't know, $1 million on an $8 million of equity, hey, that's a 12% return. If I can get $10 million, if I sold the property and it's not really generating, $1 million right now maybe it's at 750 just because I need to go through a couple of rental cycles before it really gets up to that mark. All of a sudden I'm looking at 7.5% return. So could I sell it? And maybe it's a secondary market or a tertiary type market. Could I sell it and get into more of a primary market? Maybe instead of being in a B class, I can get into a B plus and get the same return on investment or a better return on investment return on equity. Like that's kind of the stuff that I'm looking at.
That's what's interesting too, right? Because you could also keep it and get that cash flow every month. And so that's where it's got to be sometimes challenging to determine, like, do we sell it now or do we keep this for 5 or 10 more years, continue to make the cash from the property, and one day it might sell for a whole lot more. Yeah, that makes sense.
And there's other factors, like I'm selling a lot of my smaller apartment buildings right now that are just more management intensive, where it's not big enough where it has on-site property managers, on-site maintenance. It's usually stuff that's under like 50 units. So I'm selling some of those buildings right now. And then there was a few buildings early on where I bought that are more C+ class of areas that are more management intensive. And especially with the COVID stuff, they're the ones who try to game the system. And I'm selling some of those, just kind of clean up a little bit of the portfolio. So, all that comes into play. And the good news is investors are all getting an amazing return on their investment. And then if they want to roll that money forward into deal number 2, deal number 3, deal number 5, however many deals.
Well, that's also beauty, right? If you help these investors make money, obviously they're going to continue to make money with you, right? It's like they feel that it's a good return on their investment and they're not having to do anything, right? I mean, that's what we're all looking for. I would think anybody that's investing money is hoping, I want to make money and not have to do a whole lot. Not have to do a lot.
And a good return that's backed by a tangible asset is a big part of it too. Like when
versus the stock market, it's like,
like I pay you guys 10%, right? So you guys make 10% fixed, then you get all your money back, and then you still own a piece of the equity in perpetuity that kicks off the cash flow, that kicks off all those other things that I talked about. I mean, 10% fixed return is a pretty respectable return. It's a double-digit return. I know the stock market's going crazy, but you don't take that ride. It's predictable. It's hitting your account on a quarterly basis, right? Like I don't have to give up equity, is my point.
Right.
The reason I do, and I give up at least a quarter of the deal to my investors, pretty much across the board on every deal that I do, of giving them the equity in the deal. The reason I do is because I want to build a long-term relationship with my investors. Right. If I give you your money back and somebody dangles an 11% carrot in front of your face, all of a sudden that's better than 10%, right? So you're going to go talk to somebody new. If you have equity in my deal in perpetuity, first of all, that creates like an infinite return because you don't have any money involved anymore and you still own equity in this thing. But secondly, it really creates a lot of loyalty to me, to you, and to you, to me, where all of a sudden you're like, dude, let's roll it together. Tim's my long-term partner. I'm a partner with him on this building. Might as well be a partner with him on the next one too, right? And let's just keep on rolling it forward.
I think we're partnering with you in like 6. I want to say, is it 6 buildings, Nadya?
Yeah, 6 projects.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. So, obviously there's people on here watching or listening to the podcast and they're thinking, yeah, sounds good. I don't have 100,000. What would you tell someone like that if they wanted to start getting into the real estate business they don't want to just like do single family, like they want to get into the world that you're in? Mm-hmm. How would you tell someone that maybe doesn't have the 100,000 to put into one of these portfolios? How would you tell that person to start off? And I know you also have like events and programs and different things, so maybe that's also something you could recommend, but would love for you to share with someone that doesn't have that kind of cash. Where would they start?
Yeah, great question. And I mean, I can speak from my own personal experience of I started small, right? So I started with a single family, and then I got into smaller multi, and then I got into bigger multifamily, and then I got into larger apartment buildings. So I organically grew that. And I can't take anything away from that because that's what got me to where I am. And so I think that's a great way to do it. It's a slower way. And I didn't realize the other opportunities that were available just because I was just in the dark, right? You don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that there's people like me and other people out there who will sponsor loans, meaning they will co-sign on loans. It's a standard operating procedure. It is like everybody does it, right? Like they find somebody with a big balance sheet, a lot of liquidity, and they have them come in and co-sign on their loan, right? You can do that. You can get into a big apartment building if you come across a big apartment building and call me up or somebody else who has a lot of liquidity and experience and net worth, and they can sign on the loan. The other thing is there's a lot of people who are sitting on cash and they don't know how to, they're really good at making it. They're good at keeping it, but they don't know how to invest it and how to get it, multiplying for themselves because they're focused on their primary business.
Or they're like us, right? And they're like us and they've invested in things and they've been burned. So they're a little, they got some skepticism towards any investment. I always tell people, anytime money leaves your bank account, it may not come back.
Yeah.
You're looking for something safe, but something that is also exciting because, obviously it's a lot of the safer investments. It's like, hey, put your money in a CD, get 1%, like 1%.
At best, right?
Yeah, at best, exactly. Anyway, so sorry to cut you off, but yeah.
No. So, shit, what was I don't even know. What were we talking about?
You were going in the direction of like what someone should do if they don't have find people that have the money.
Right. And so one thing, like there's a lot of people in California that hit me up and they're like, hey man, there's just not deals in California. Everything's inflated. Everything's overpriced. Everybody's leaving California or whatever's happening. So I'm like, listen, you're in California. Everybody's got money in California. I feel like everybody has cash out there. They all have equity in their properties. They all have home equity loans, have access to capital, or they make multiple six figures. They're sitting on, cash or retirement funds, or whatever. If you don't have money and you want to invest in real estate, you can go and raise private money. That is also a standard operating procedure. Like when I was doing single family deals, the bank wanted to see the money come from my bank account, see it seasoned in my bank account for at least 3 months in order to then put the down payment down on that house. In multifamily, they expect you to go and raise private money. It's called syndication. They expect you to go and raise money from outside investors for the down payment and for the operating capital on your deal. It's expected. So it's actually easier to do bigger deals than it is to do smaller deals for some of those reasons. So you can always go out and raise money. Let's say you don't have money, but you know a bunch of people with money and you don't want to do the work. You can go and create your own fund. It costs 10 grand to have all the paperwork put together, a couple conversations with an attorney, and you can have your own investment fund. They can invest in your fund. Maybe you pay them 7% return on investment, and then you go and lend the money out and you make 10 or 12% return on investment. All of a sudden, it's a good deal for your investors because they're making 7%. And then you make an arbitrage of, say you're making 12% of the money, you make an arbitrage of 5% annually on somebody else's money. That's what the banks do. Right. The banks borrow money and pay you a 0.25% on your savings account, and they lend it out at 5% or 4% or 6%. They're arbitraging other people's money. You are the bank. And what I've come to realize is like finance is the industry that commands all other industries. If you can control the money, then you can control a large portion of the deal. And that's what, dude, go to any major metropolitan city. Who has the biggest buildings in that city? They're all banks or insurance companies, which are essentially banks. Insurance companies lend on commercial real estate.
They're holding a whole lot of money. Yeah. Do you watch Billions?
I've seen a couple of it. Yeah.
Dude, we're like completely obsessed with it. We just finished the whole 5 series, but season 5, that's what he's trying to do, is start his own thing. Once he's like, I want to be a bank. I'm sick of this, like, being out here and this risky, day trading. I want to be the bank. He's like, the bankers, they got nothing to worry about. He's like, if they get in trouble, the government bails them out. So yeah, they do have the biggest buildings, 100%. That's a great point.
Yeah. So here's going back to it though, is like creating your own fund seems like a lot of work. Dude, if you don't have money and you're looking to get, first of all, you got to get the information, right? Like go out, get educated. There's a lot of people who teach about how to go and raise private money or how to go out and invest in real estate, invest in commercial real estate. So go and get educated on some of that stuff. And there's a lot of different strategies that you can use to go and raise private money. And if you want to start small, and I'll tell you this, like, I don't think that you're going to be able to go and raise $10 million for a big deal if you can't raise $100,000 for a small deal, right? So if you can organically start small and start growing, that's a great way to do it. Or if you have a little bit more influence in your social network, then link arms with somebody who's already operating at a really high level and partner with them, utilize their credibility, right? The whole credibility, respect, and trust thing. You know what I'm talking about, right? Utilize their respect because they're a credible expert, your trust in your network, and all of a sudden you can create influence, right? And you can get people to invest in projects with you or through you with that other operator. So there's a lot of different ways to get involved with deals. I think it's go out, get the information, and then sort through it all, understand what your starting point is, what the destination is, and then you can reverse engineer the map to get there.
Right. And it's interesting too, right? It's like anything else. If you create results, you're going to create more results because of the results, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are buying the results. If they see that you're helping people, if they see that you know what you're doing, and, you know, kind of like what you've done, right? You become an authority, an expert in the field, then you're going to continue to attract more and more business because people see you getting results. They want to get a piece of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're like, hey, this person's helping other people. Maybe they can help me too. And then you're creating more results from all those new, you know, business endeavors that you're getting involved with, those new opportunities, those new investors that you're partnering up with, whatever that looks like. And I think ultimately over time, as you create results and you build up your confidence and you learn the profession, right? Like 10,000 hours, right? You hit the nail on the head there. I mean, it's just like anything else. So if someone's saying, hey, I want to get into real estate, I don't know where to begin. You're going to have to start off just like anyone else, starting small. You know, starting off with learning from other experts. And I think, you know, in fact, I would love for you to share maybe if you have any resources, you know, where someone can follow you, or if someone came to you and said, hey, I want to learn how to get into real estate. This all sounds great. Where do I begin? Maybe you have something, Tim, that you can suggest, website, a resource, a download, whatever, because I know there's so many people that follow us that plug into our content. And obviously we teach social media, we teach network marketing, we teach people how to build businesses, online duplication, all the things, but we don't get into teaching people how to get into real estate investing. But we've made a lot of money in real estate investing, and a lot of the money we've been making over the last couple of years has been from investing with you. And I love knowing that, you know, you're not just on the real estate investing side of things. Like I said before, you're on the coaching, training, you've got masterminds, courses, like you're on that side of things as well. So you're not just doing it yourself, but you're leveling up, scaling your coaching business. So if you have some resources, something you can point people to, I think that would be awesome. And we'll wrap it up.
And obviously, dude, I'm here to just give as much value as I possibly can. I'm not here to like promote anything, but I appreciate that.
Promote away, man. Promote away. Because they're all going to ask me anyway, how can I, this guy, Tim, like, what should I do? How do I get in touch with them? Like,
friend me up on Facebook or Instagram, right? Or follow me on Instagram, send me a friend request on Facebook. I answer all my own messages. Shoot me a message. If there's anything that I can do to support you, I can point you in the right direction for a lot of stuff, depending on what your goals are. So if you're looking to get into single family and you just want to like wholesale properties, I know some of the best educators in that side. I know some of the best house flippers in the entire country. And I know obviously how to invest in more long-term buy and hold type assets, because that's what I do. So yeah, I mean, Legacy Wealth Holdings is my website, legacywealthholdings.com. Just go there, check that out. And, you know, you can submit an inquiry there, or there's a lot of podcast episodes that I've been on. There's a lot of podcast episodes where I've interviewed other experts in the real estate world. And so just hit me up there. And if I can point you in the right direction, absolutely I will.
Well, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You're killing it, dude. It's a lot of watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things going on. You know, the question is like, you know, like everything that I do is legacy, right? So like Legacy Wealth Holdings and Legacy Wealth Fund is my investment fund. I got Legacy Wealth Education is my education business. And then I have, but it's like, how do you create real legacy? You know, and some people think it's passing down estate, it's passing down property, it's passing down money to younger generations and creating it that way. But I mean, how many times do you see it where people come into a lot of money, they inherit a lot of money and they lose all of it? So to me, legacy is more like passing down the education side, right, passing down the information. And so I was telling you about this in Messenger about the kids' books. And so the kids' books, I was sitting on a flight back from a mastermind. I was reading The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. And I was like, damn it, these principles are so profound. And I'm like, I'm getting this. I think I was like 31 at the time. I was like, I'm getting this at 31 years old. What if I read this when I was 21 years old?
Right.
What if I read this when I was 2 years old, where my daughter was, how old my daughter was at the time? And I'm like, that's what I need to do. I need to find kids' books, kids' personal development books. And so I get off the flight. I start searching for all these personal development books, and I couldn't find anything, dude. I found there was some about like working hard and how to be nice and how to live by the golden rule and Berenstain Bears type books and that kind of stuff. But there was nothing about the principles that we're talking about. Think and Grow Rich, how to win friends and influence people, the magic of thinking big, the power of positive thinking, the richest man in Babylon, those types of principles. And dude, I think when that seed is planted in your mind, by God, you don't turn your back to God, right? Like, all right. And so I sat on the idea for a couple of years, but I actually, about a year and a half ago, I created something called Little Legacy Library that is a bunch of kids' books about personal development stuff. And so the first book is based off of Think and Grow Rich. It's called Think Big and Go to Baseball Camp. And it talks all about goal setting. And it talks about obsessing over your goals. It talks about sacrificing things that you care about in order to really reach your long-term vision, your long-term goal. It talks about overcoming obstacles that are going to hit you on the way. And it's a really cool story. I actually, I partnered up with my wife and another good friend, and the two girls who are equity owners and partners of mine. They're the ones who wrote the book, so I can brag about it and be like, the books are amazing, because they really, really are. And we have some awesome illustrations and stuff. But if anybody's got kids like 4 to 10 years old is a great age range for that. And realistically, I get messages from adults that are like, dude, I got a lot out of that. Thanks for writing that.
They're like reading it to their 4-year-old and they're like,
damn, that's where I've been messing up my whole life, right?
No, that's awesome. Now, how can they get more information on the book? Is it Amazon or you got a website, or is that on your website?
LittleLegacyLibrary.com.
Okay.
LittleLegacyLibrary.com. They're also on Amazon too, but go to LittleLegacyLibrary.com and
those of you watching, if you could type that in the comments, that would be awesome. LittleLegacyLibrary.com. Good stuff.
But that's pretty cool too. So if anybody, it's not a moneymaker. It's more of an impact piece for us. And for every book that's purchased, we actually donate another book to a child in need. So it's cool. It's kind of more of a philanthropic type thing, but trying to get, the mindset stuff out there and trying to like change future generations. And I think that's
everything.
Yeah, it is. And what if everybody had the mindset of like, if it's meant to be, it's up to me, and they stop going to the government and try to give them everything, and they stop, expecting things for nothing, and they took 100% ownership over their life. Like, can you imagine like how amazing this world would be? And so if we could do a little bit more of that, man, I think it'd be profound.
Amen. Too many people living in fear, have this entitlement mentality, especially right now, man. It's tough, and that's part of the reason this country is, in turmoil, right? There's just a lot of conflicting opinions and outlooks on things. And I think it's a big part of it is just, the upbringing, the environment, right? The people you surround yourself with. And that's what I love about, the network we've built over the years, right? People like you that, you're not in network marketing. You were at one point, but you're not in the space anymore. And I think it's just so important to network and follow and connect with amazing people that are playing big, because it makes you realize what's truly possible. Because, you and I, we didn't have anything handed to us, right? We had to go out there and earn it. We had to go out there and work on ourselves and take risks and fail, but fail forward. As long as you don't quit, you don't fail. It's like I constantly have these conversations with people that are, they're stuck. And I'm like, well, first of all, stop acknowledging the fact that you're stuck, right? You're just learning, you're growing. We all have those seasons of failure. And too many of us get caught up in where we should be, or, what you deserve, or what the world owes. The world doesn't owe you anything. The world's been here way longer than all of us, right? You gotta go out there and make things happen. And, I get excited too, because I think in today's day and age, it's just a lot easier than it's ever been, right? I was talking about this yesterday in my video last night, and I'm like, dude, there's children making slime, and they've got 1 million subscribers. They're literally getting paid to make slime on camera. Or how about this? Kids playing video games, and they got 6,000 other kids watching them because they're live streaming the game they're playing, and they're getting paid, right? They're getting paid to play a freaking video game. If a child can get paid to play a video game, then you can get paid somehow, some way, leveraging the internet, leveraging your skills, right? It's all a matter of working on yourself and getting in the right environments. And I think, ultimately there's a lot of us that are in the network marketing space. We're in the entrepreneurial space, and we have to realize and embrace the fact that, it's limitless possibilities. Like you said, the abundance, the sun. I love that analogy, right? There's abundance of opportunities out there, and we just have to be willing to take some risks. We have to be willing to work on ourselves and give the time and commitment that it's going to take. So I appreciate you, brother. Love that you came out and provided a lot of value. I think we've been on for like 1 hour and 15 minutes, but a lot of people were on till the very, very end. And I know there's a lot of positive comments and people were loving it. Y'all smash that heart button if you got some value. And actually, let me drop this. Thank you, Ray Thompson, for putting that up there. Legacy Wealth Holdings. So that's for those of you that want to check out some of Tim's content. And then for the book, here we go, Little Legacy Library. Mary, thanks for putting that up. Appreciate you doing that. And Tim, appreciate you, brother.
Dude, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Appreciate Nadya. Appreciate our friendship, and excited to do a lot of amazing things together for a long time to come.
Absolutely, man. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim.
Later, guys. Hasta luego.